What's up guys, FlamingVictini here, and today I've got for you the final game of the Snake Draft Finals between the Bushmasters and the Pitvipers. Sken is on the Bushmasters, and the Bushmasters are down 5-4, so Sken needs to win this game for his team if they want to go to tiebreakers and have a shot of winning. If Shrug wins this game, the Pitvipers will be the first Snake Tour champions. We see Shrug lead off with a Spritzy as Sken leads off with the Mienfoo. The Mienfoo is probably going to be pushed to just U-turn out of the Spritzy and go into Sken's Fungus. Now Spritzy can't really accomplish much from being in this position, so I'm not entirely sure why he led with it. Perhaps he was... honestly, I'm not really sure why he led with it. It might be like Calm Mind Spritzy, and he wants to... I mean, yeah, if he goes for a Moonblast, the thing is, Fungus can regenerate that off, and Fungus now gets a chance to use Spore. And now I do think Elekid has Vital Spirit, so it might be able to like do some dancing around, and of course Ferroseed also is immune to that. He actually goes for a Protect as the Ponyta comes in trying to catch the Ferroseed or the Elekid. That might oh, actually the Vullaby is also Overcoat. It could be Overcoat. It might be Weak Armor, but it could also be Overcoat. So their Fungus may not have been able to accomplish much, so Sken pulls the switch into his Ponyta instead. Now, depending on this Ponyta set, it does just go straight for a Flare Blitz, doesn't do more than half, and the Spritzy goes straight for a Wish. Now, because that Flare Blitz only did 44, depending on the rules, I don't know the rules, but Shrug may be compelled to click Protect here to be safe. Sken could be running a Will-O-Wisp on his Ponyta, he could be running a Wild Charge. Let's see, Flare Blitz, Morning Sun, and then there's a lot of options there. I've seen Toxic, I've seen Will-O-Wisp, I've seen Wild Charge, I've seen Flame Charge. He actually decides to just switch back right out to his Fungus, so he's just took a little bit of extra damage with this Ponyta. That might matter against the Timber, but I mean, it's just a little bit of extra damage, so I don't know. He brings back in his Fungus, so the Spritzy is back in. He goes hard to the Ferroseed as the Fungus does indeed go for a Spore. So now the Ferroseed is in and it gets a chance to set up the hazards. The Mienfoo comes in on the Ferroseed as the Ferroseed sets up the Stealth Rocks. So now that this, the Mienfoo can go for a knockoff, but that Spritzy might be Covet. Okay, so the Mienfoo does indeed go for the knockoff and hits the Spritzy. U-turns out. The Spritzy's probably going to go for a Covet this turn, so I see if Sken goes to his Fungus, it's not really going to accomplish much. If his Ponyta has a Z move, he could go to his Ponyta. Also, if his Diglett's a Z move and he manages to bring Diglett in on the Covet, that might also even work. I'm assuming he can take a Covet nicely, but he does go to his Ponyta, there's the Covet, and no item is stolen, so that is a Z move Ponyta. I'm not really sure what the Z move Ponytas run. I could imagine Firium with Sunny Day. I could imagine Z Solar Beam, Bloom Doom, maybe even Z Wild Charge, I'm not really sure. But I think definitely in this matchup you'd want to be Z Sunny Day, that seems to be really good. The problem is here, because Sken, the way Sken played that opening turns against the Spritzy, he let that Ferroseed get in and get rocks up without any punishment really. And I think that and he didn't even bring Ponyta in before the rocks went up, so now he has to spend his time to Morning Sun and he can't really attack. The Vullaby comes in. I'm not really sure what this Vullaby set is. He's got two really fast Mons and Mach Punch plus a decent defensive backbone, so I'm not really think he probably doesn't really need Scarf. So it's probably, it could be Weak Armor, and it could also just be like a defensive Overcoat thing, but if he's got Ferroseed, I mean, do Ferroseed usually run rocks or spikes? I'm not really sure. It might even be both, but I guess if I had to make a guess, I'd say this Vullaby is maybe Weak Armor, and maybe that's part of why he's switching into this Ponyta, especially now that he knows that the Ponyta doesn't have the EV Light. He knows that a Brave Bird can do a really good chunk to it. So Sken is probably going to be pushed out of here, unless he's like... See, if it's a Z-move Ponyta, it's probably not going to be running like Will-O-Wisp or even Toxic. It's definitely going to be offensive. So he does go to his Onix, and the Vullaby goes straight for a Brave Bird, as Onix shows that it's Weak Armor, not Sturdy. So now it's very fast, going to be outrunning all of Shrug's team. And Shrug is probably just going to go straight to his Ferrothorn as Sken lays up the rocks. That is indeed what happens. The Ferroseed is back in though. The rocks are still up on Sken's side, and I feel like this hazardous pressure is going to get really tough on Sken. He might want to go to his Fungus. He probably doesn't want to go straight to Ponyta in case his Ferroseed T-Waves, although it could be knockoff. I think Ferroseed, oh, it's actually Spike's Ferroseed, so this is going to be even worse for Sken, laying up the hazards. I think usually if Ferroseed only runs one hazard, it's Hazard, Bullet Seed, T-Wave, knockoff. Maybe Leech Seed, probably Leech Seed. But anyway, the Mienfoo comes in on this Ferroseed. Ferroseed could either be Berry Juice or Violet, not really sure. So he does choose to switch out. And Sken actually goes straight for the U-turn. I was thinking he might just HJK because he knows he can U-turn out of the Spritzee anyway, and then it's forced to protect to get its recovery. But he chooses to just straight hard U-turn. So he's gonna get the momentum right here. If he goes to Diglett, he might be able to kill this thing, but that would let in Timber. Timber could get dangerous. Letting in Ferroseed just lets up more hazards, but it's not too horrible. Alternatively, he could go to Ponyta, but other than that, I don't really see any alternative, because going to Fungus, I mean, he can just covet, and it's just not worth. Although you probably could do that as well. I think going Ponyta is probably the play, but this hazards damage is really starting to rack up on this Ponyta, and it's pretty tough because Ponyta's main source of damage is from moves that deal recoil, Flare Blitz. So I feel like this is going to be really tough for Sken. If it happens to be like a Fire set, then he can at least get off an Inferno Overdrive and just collect a kill. But I expect that he would have done that earlier, so I'm not entirely sure. Maybe he switched out Ponyta fearing a Scarf Lullaby in the beginning, but now if he brings in Ponyta here on this Spritzee, he's gonna go straight for a Firium Flare Blitz. But that would be really good. He would get a collected kill right here. And then Shrug's main offensive threats. Well, he's got that Abra, but Sken can definitely try to revenge that with his Diglett. If it's a Sash Abra, then the Diglett's gonna need beat up, and I guess Sken's gonna have to make sure all of his attackers are still alive to make sure that KOs. Otherwise, he's only gonna be able to get it down to its Sash. Elekid is also dangerous. Sken's Fungus might be able to check it, but it needs to be very healthy. The Onix won't be able to check it right now unless it hazards puts it back up in sturdy range of the Berry Juice. And Diglett speed ties with it. He does go straight to his Ponyta, so as you can see, this hazards is really wearing down the Ponyta. So far, it's dealt one attack, which ended up getting him 0 net damage and just dealt 20% to himself. And he has to spend the turn. Oh, he actually goes straight for a Flame Charge, doesn't heal, gets a critical hit Flame Charge. That's not going to matter because it's a weak armor Berry Juice Vullaby. Regardless of the crit or not, the weak armor and the Berry Juice would have activated. And now this Ponyta is slower than the Vullaby, so it is indeed a weak armor Vullaby. That's going to be really nice for Shrug right here. He can just go straight for a Brave Bird, I think. He doesn't even need to. He actually goes straight for a knockoff. Okay, so I guess he wants to guarantee the damage. If Sken chose to switch to his Onix, I mean, personally, I think he would have been fine if Onix came in. He probably would have. I think he would have been fine if Onix came in because he forces the Ponyta out again, and that's just a plus. And the Onix coming in doesn't seem that threatening when he has the Ferroseed. But he does just go for a knockoff, doesn't get the kill, might have been a low roll, I'm not really sure. And Ponyta goes for a Flare Blitz, and there's the double down. So, Shrug's biggest threat, Timber. He brings in his Timber as Sken goes for the Diglett. I guess the Diglett is maybe trying to catch Abra or Elekid. There's no other reason to want to go Elekid. To go Diglett. He actually goes. Oh, he goes straight for the knockoff. Yeah, I mean, knockoff's pretty fair from the Timber right there. Timber's pretty bulky. It's not really threatened by Diglett. And now he's got the knockoff and the Spritzee. If this thing has Poison Jab, Sken's gonna be in a lot of trouble. Because the Poison Jab, I'm pretty sure, will take out a Spritzee without that Eviolite. So I'm not really sure whether I agree with this decision of leading Diglett. I think maybe Mienfoo or even Fungus would have been a better choice. I guess he's worried about that Abra. That would be my guess. He was worried about Abra coming in. He does go to the Mienfoo on the Poison Jab. Okay, and he goes for an item kick, but the Drain Punch is going to heal him back out of range of that, and actually does a really solid chunk. That's going to put it in range of Mach Punch as well. And Timber's no longer even in range of knockoffs. This is looking tough for Sken. He goes to his Fungus, trying to pivot on the Mach Punch, and oh! He goes straight for the knockoff. Nicely played by Shrug. Nicely played by Shrug. But he doesn't have Ice Punch or Fire Punch or anything like that, so I still think he won't be able to kill. Sken probably can still live a hit and Spore this thing, But now I'm wondering if it was even worth going to Mianfu. I think maybe if he just went straight to Fungus on that poison jab, that might have been better. I mean, poison jab, then knockoff on a sport definitely would have been better than taking a knockoff plus then a poison jab. And he didn't really get that much damage off on the Timber. The Timbers, he took 33%. That's fair, I guess. I mean, I'm not really sure how much. He didn't. Maybe he should have knocked off the Timber. Maybe that would have helped. He goes straight for a Drain Punch. Okay, once the damage, that does a solid 32%. As Sken goes for the Spore on the Timber. So I think Sken now needs to pray to God for some really long sleep turns right here. I think that's the only way he can get out of this situation. And after that, he needs to just somehow go ham with his Diglett. And if his Mianfu has Fake Out, that's going to help a lot. But I think everything on his team is in range of Abra now, so things are looking really dangerous if it's a Sash Abra, and Sken's not able to take it out with a beat-up Diglett. Of course, this all depends on Shrug's Timber staying asleep, and Sken being able to KO it. Sken decides to switch out to his Mianfu, so I'm guessing Giga Drain was not 3. It was, oh, there's the Wake Up and the Drain Punch. Mianfu is down, Timber is at 46, and this is looking rough. Oh boy, so can Sken still win here? Fungus and Spritzee will die, so he's got to go to Diglett or Onyx. I presume Onyx will be able to tank a Mach Punch, and then maybe able to OHKO with EQ, maybe go for a crit, and it might be Explosion, and he sacrifices himself. I could see if he gets lucky on that Diglett. Lucky versus that Ferroseed and versus the Elekid, and I don't know, maybe Onyx and Diglett can somehow win this, but it's looking really, really rough. I think maybe Sken's Spritzee might have also been able to win it if it still had its Eviolite, but it doesn't, so I don't know. This is looking really, really bad, and I think Shrug's got this game basically on lockdown. I think really Sken the early game, I feel like Sken had a really tough matchup because he just had no hazard control, and he had Ponyta, which is his main win con, versus Shrug's Rocks and Spike's Ferroseed, and it just put him really far behind. I'm guessing his Fungus didn't have HP Fire, or he was spraying the Berry Juice, which would make HP Fire a 3-hit KO, and it would waste time to go for, since that's all really Ferroseed needed to do. It can help tank some hits in the end game if it reaches that point, but yeah, this is looking pretty over. I think Sken should have brought some hazard control, or maybe played his Ponyta differently. I'm not really sure. I mean, it was a Flame Charge set, so it was probably like Z Bloom Doom, Z Solar Beam to Bloom Doom. That's probably what his set was, and that made the matchup even tougher because he wanted to have something like Z Sunny Day Fire Ring, which would have made the matchup a lot more doable. I feel like even Eviolite Pony would have been really, really good versus Shrug if he had the tools to get past Spritzee and not be weak to hazards. We see he went to Fungus, meaning that he wants to Regenerator out. He does indeed switch out to a Spritzee, so he's gonna just sack that. Timber did enough for another Drain Punch to KO, but if it's a roll, he can just go for a P-Jab and take out the Spritzee safely. He does indeed do that. Sken's probably gonna go back to Fungus, and it's going to be at 32% health after Regenerator and Hazards. I'm pretty sure a Drain Punch did 32 before to it though. So I'm pretty sure a Poison Jab will just KO. He does indeed go for the P-Jab and just takes it out, so I think that's the game. This Timber just steamrolled through Sken. After Ponyta went down and Hazards got laid up, he got the Spritzee knocked off and he had P-Jab. It just all fell downhill. And Sken says GG, so that I think that's the game, and I think that's the season. So if Sken forfeits, then Pitvipers win 6-4, and honestly a really deserved victory as well. The Pitvipers had the best regular season record. They were like very clearly dominant. I think they had like 50-30 or some sort of ratio like that. Like really, really good job in the regular season. They were first seed in playoffs, and they just have been consistent all throughout. I'm pretty sure their first players didn't even do that well. Like Axel, I think he was their first pick and he went like 2-5, and Starmaster was banned for ghosting or something like that. I think he was their second pick. So there's the forfeit, and Shrug takes the game for the Pitvipers. So congratulations, Pitvipers, on a really well-deserved victory. And yeah, this was a fun first iteration of the Smogon Snake Draft. That's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.